Investing in Ethereum changed my life. No hedge, no BS, literally changed the trajectory of my financial life, my personal life, my professional life. Had I not bought ETH at $13 per token in the summer of 2016, I would not have my own business. I would not own multiple pieces of property. I don't know if I'd be married. That sounds crazy. That might sound like hyperbole, but it's true. And in this video, I'm going to explain not only how ETH changed my life, but the investing principles that allowed me to not blow up in the 2017 crypto bubble, and what those lessons could mean today in the new crypto cycle. In the summer of 2016, I visited a friend in Manhattan. He was working at a really exciting data analytics startup company called CB Insights and had become completely transfixed with a new cryptocurrency project, Ethereum. He was insistent that when this caught on, not if, when, it would be substantially bigger. It would be life-altering for potentially millions or billions of people, and that it was still the very early days representing an opportunity to get into a very enticing investment. Not only was I still somewhat skeptical, but I was also a very poor post-grad. I had tens of thousands of dollars of student debt. I had moved back home because I wanted to pay off those loans as quickly as possible. I didn't have much to invest, but starting in October of 2016, I started putting $25 per week into the investment. Not sexy. I am not a millionaire off of this investment, but it did change my life. I continued that investment through January of 2017. Through those 4 months, ETH fluctuated in price between like $10 and $15. So every week I was able to accumulate about 2 ETH. You can do the math to try to back into how many that was. Now, it's very important for you to understand, I'm not a genius. I'm way more lucky than good. I actually did interviews with the co-founder of Ethereum, Joe Lubin. And yet, despite him painting the entire picture of how this would be transformative, how big it would be, getting a taste of all his tonality, appetite, belief, vision, I didn't increase the investment at all. In fact, I stopped it in January of 2017. Had I not, it would have been even more transformative. After doing some traveling, I decided to get a little bit more in May of 2017 and into June. That coincided with exciting announcements like the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, which represented the notion that large corporations would start to build on the blockchain, use the Ethereum network to do so, and start to open the door for the idealized version of what the Ethereum supercomputer could be. At that point, the price jumped up into the triple digits, as high as $200 in June of 2017, when I made my last purchase of Ethereum during that specific cycle. And then I just sat on my hands and waited. That's another important takeaway here. Even in a bubble, even in a very, very hype-filled time in a market, things still take time to play out. The thesis for investing in Ethereum was crystal clear in Ryan's mind in late 2016. It started to become clear to me in the middle of 2017. And yet the cycle didn't really peak until the last months of 2017 or the early months of 2018. Also, in the midst of a bubble cycle, there is no way to know when the end is or if the bubble might pop. Sure, there are bears, there are skeptics that are gonna stand around the periphery because they didn't get in and cast stones and tell you why everything is set to fall apart imminently. But when you're in the midst of it, you really have absolutely no idea. Maybe people smarter than me do. I had absolutely no idea, no perspective. The only thing that granted me a little bit of perspective were two much more sophisticated and experienced investors that I read and listened to intimately. Barry Ritholtz, who'd been blogging since the 2008 housing crisis, wrote a poignant piece about the minimization of regret. The regret minimization framework posits a very simple idea when you're in the middle of an upward speculative mania. If things continue to go up, will you regret selling now? Sure, a little bit. You left some profits on the table, but if you've already made substantial profits because of the upswing in price, then you are still banking profits and your regret will be minimal compared to the opposite. If things were to crash and go back down now and you hadn't sold, will you regret not having sold? The answer would be emphatically yes. In late 2017, I had enough to pay off my student loans and have a little bit extra. Given the precipitous climb in price that Ethereum had had over the last year and the multiples that I had already made on the investment in just 1 year, it was really hard not to imagine things continuing to climb upwards, things to continue to go to some sort of crazy stratospheric level. But that framework was the starting point for me to say, hey, I should take at least some chips off the table. I have the opportunity to change my life by making this sale. And what drove the point home was after doing an interview with the private equity investor Brent Beshore, who has literally read the books of every successful modern investor, knows all about speculative manias throughout history, and said very simply to me, this never ends well. He saw it clear as day. Yes, there could be more upward swing to go, but such a precipitous climb on something so nascent without the technological bona fides to back up the investments that were necessarily being made indicated that there could be a severe correction on the horizon. When I put those two pieces of information together, I sold enough to not only pay off the tens of thousands of dollars of student loans that I still had, but had a little bit more left over to make a down payment on a condo. Bought that condo with my girlfriend, now wife, and it was absolutely life-changing. I cannot understate the degree to which my stress, my general mood was elevated by the fact that I did not have the noose of student loans hanging around my neck. I also see clearly that I was pretty darn lucky to be able to have that happen. It was not some sort of genius move. It was not some sort of gifted exceptionalism that I possess. It was having some great advice from a very good friend to get into the position and having some great advice from role models and mentors telling me when to get out. None of the credit falls on my shoulders. Maybe I get a little bit for holding on as long as I did. The other part of that regret minimization framework, though, is if you had sold everything and it continues to go up, then you would have some regrets. So I continued to hold a portion of that Ethereum all the way through the post-2017 bubble crash, where all the altcoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they all lost like 70 or 80% of their total value. Now, the nice thing is that these crypto cycles tend to come in waves. Every 4 years, there's the Bitcoin halving, there's other technological advancements that occur and general interest and intrigue into the space. So we are in the midst of yet another cyclical upswing in cryptocurrencies generally. Sometimes people ask me what my thoughts are on this particular upswing. Are you in Bitcoin? Are you in Ethereum? Do you believe in the altcoins? Do you believe in the space generally? Here's what I think. The starting point is that you should have a very select few number of people that you trust to a very high degree. Now that seems counterintuitive. Most people would say take as much in from as many sources as possible. I would look at it exactly the opposite way. If you are only taking a superficial gander at a bunch of different people's investing perspectives, yes, you will get a taste of the different ways that people think, but you won't really have an appreciation for the depth of thought that they may have put into the positions that they are not only taking themselves. That's very important. They need to have skin in the game. You don't want someone that says invest in this when they're actually doing this over here. And you want to know the quality of the thought that they've put into the investing framework that they've put together. Have they thought about this really deeply? Have they read all the sources? Do they have an edge because of the work that they've put in? If you cannot answer emphatically yes to all those things, it is probably not a trusted source that you should be putting your assets behind. Cutting in because I realized after we finished shooting that I couldn't reference having mentors like this without referencing who it is that I trust the most. I've got 4 investing minds that I trust very intimately. Brent Beshore, who I mentioned before, Lynn Alden, Mike Green, and Naval Ravikant. Now these folks also, most of them don't very often come out with explicit investing recommendations, but their framework, their philosophy, all the different interviews and writings that I've read of theirs gives me a lot of trust in their process, a lot of trust that when they do make public declarations, they have done the work to back it up and have the intellectual horsepower to actually have an edge. If you're interested in learning more about why, who these people are, or how I think about finding those type of characters, let me know in the comments below. I also prefer swing trading to day trading. Swing trading is the basic idea that you think an asset or a security is on a general upswing. Another one of those for me is Formula One. I think that the Netflix series is massively raising the profile of the sport, in addition to some other factors, giving it a very bright future. That future will not be realized in the next day or week. It'll probably happen over the next couple of years. And so I'm in a swing trade position on Formula One, expecting that to go up over the next couple of years. And that way I don't have to track the day-to-day price fluctuations. Ethereum worked the exact same way. In the midst of the mania, yeah, I was looking at the price every single day, but while I was making those initial investments and over the months before the actual speculative mania erupted, I was not thinking about Ethereum every waking hour. That's no way to live. The point of investing is to not think about investing 24/7. The point of investing is to unlock other parts of your life for you and your family. All right, so you've made it this far through the video. It's 2021 or 2022. Aaron, I don't really care about the price fluctuations of Ethereum in 2017. The EIP 1599 upgrade just happened. Prices are now in the thousands, not in the hundreds, you son of a gun. What do I do? Here's the two things I would say. If you have a position, I would go into something like Coinbase Pro and set a limit sell, a price by which you will automatically sell some portion of the crypto that you've invested in. If you want to use that framework of recovering your cost basis at a certain price, this should be automated. As soon as the price hits that number, you don't have to go in and actively do it. It will auto sell right at that price. What is that number? I can't tell you. That's going to be a factor of when you got in, what your general bullishness is on the space generally. Some people like Nikhil Sharma have an exceptionally bullish thesis for Ethereum. He has a price target as high as $150,000. Personally, I fall a little bit closer to people like Packy McCormick, who do have a generally bullish stance as more and more people enter the Ethereum network, but that looks more like the low 5 figures as opposed to the low 6 figures. That being said, I do think everyone could and should have some allocation into crypto. I do not believe in putting 100% of your net worth or leveraging yourself beyond your total net worth into Bitcoin and Ethereum positions. That being said, I do not buy the notion that these are completely flaky, fragile assets that are going to disappear tomorrow, although they do have exceptionally high volatility relative to most financial assets. You have to be prepared for that degree of volatility if you're going to invest some portion into crypto. So that's the story. Let me know if you are interested or invested in ETH yourself. Maybe you have another altcoin that you think is the bee's knees in the future of all this. Maybe that will be your story of student loans getting paid off or some other sort of financial win. If you found this valuable, we talk about investing, finance, and building a better business brain every single week on this channel. You should hit subscribe because we will have tons of great ideas in future videos.